Why, hello there. Good afternoon, good afternoon. Hello, hello. I guess it's Christmas Eve, huh? Eh? Those of you that keep track of such things? What time is it here? I think it's like 3:30 or something like that. I don't know. 4 or something like that. Somewhere around them's. What's your plans for Christmas? I don't know. Ashley and I are having a Christmas together this year. It's kind of, I think it's our first Christmas where we're not, it's her first Christmas away from her family. And it's our first Christmas as a couple where we don't really have any plans other than just spending time together. So, looking forward to that. Ashley's going to make Eggs Benedict on Christmas morning. That's a tradition for her. I'm thinking about maybe making some enchiladas or something. I have to go to the store today and pick up the stuff for them. But for Christmas Eve dinner, I was thinking about doing some enchiladas or some spaghetti or something. Something hearty that I know how to make. Yo quiero. The day after Christmas, it will be Christmas Eve times 365. I don't understand, homie. TJ joining y'all. We might, like, I don't really know, because I don't know what the plans are for that side of the family. I kind of think that they might have done their family Christmas early, because Scotty is traveling with Taylor for Christmas for a couple of days. So he's going to be out of town on actual, like, he's out of town, I think, tomorrow or something. So I think they might have had their Christmas last night, which is, like, it started late, if that's the case. Because we were shooting all day yesterday. What do you think the population has faith in money despite it being worthless? I'm making a documentary and would love your thoughts. Why do you think the population has faith in money despite it being worthless? Because we don't have a choice, right? I mean, faith, like, nobody asks you whether you have faith in a dollar. I don't really have faith in our currency, but I still have enough faith in it to pull it out of my wallet and hand it to somebody, because I don't have a choice. I mean, when your choices are fiat currency or, I go with the fiat currency. Give me some of that, because you can spend that and get things for it. Ideals are great, but, they don't exchange for a whole lot of goods and services. Let's put it that way. Why do you still celebrate Christmas? You're an atheist. I like how people are trying to, like, be better indicators of sarcasm with me. Like, that dude just alternated caps lock, hoping that I would get his sarcasm, because when I don't get people's sarcasm, you know what I mean? It's easy to just ban away. Damn. All right, let me get to some of these super chats here, because they're stacking up, folks. Very nice of you guys, by the way, to throw out the super chats. Merry Christmas. Thank you. Paul, who are your favorite modern hip-hop artists? Modern? I've kind of recently, within the last 6 months, got into some of the newer hip-hop, trap and shit. So I'd say, like, Post Malone is probably my favorite modern hip-hop artist. I like Lil Pump. I like the Lils, I like some Lil rap now. What? Fight me about it. Can't help it. That's the beats. When people ask me, like, how do you listen to that? The answer is, it's the beats. Mr. Naughty Priest says, hi, Paul. Thank you, Naughty Priest. Deck the bank with rolls of money. 'Tis the season for scams so merry. Thanks, Tucker. Hey, man, I love the misadventures of a schematic, that Kenshi playthrough. Any chance of more content like that? Yeah, probably here and there I'll do little things like that, but I enjoyed, like, streaming games just to chill and hang out with people and kind of have it be an even lower key Highdeology, And I don't know. I find that oftentimes they're not like that, so I just play a lot of games alone. Little Scrappy. Is that a dude? Post Malone is good, but most little rappers are garbage. I mean, I don't know, man. I've heard a few that I like. Like I said, I like Lil Pump. I like Lil Skies. He's got some songs that I really dig. Who else? What other little rappers can I hang with? Wow. Merry Christmas to you, my friend. Little Uzi Vert wasn't that bad. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Thanks for making this stressful year more tolerable, Paul. Merry Christmas. Same to you, my friend. And here's to next year. I mean, we can cross our fingers and hope. Less stressful? Doesn't seem like they make years and less stressful anymore, you know? Kind of remember back in the day, you used to be able to pick up a less stressful year at the store, but I don't think they're making those anymore. I think they're just ramping it up. Where's Dinor? Dinore, come here. See, he's right here. Hee hee hee. Hee hee hee. He likes to sit out on the porch with me, bird watch and stuff from the second story. Oh, god damn it. I gotta fucking secure this thing properly. I've got my other one fixed finally. I've got two of these arms, and the one I use for the inside is hooked up correctly finally. But this one out here, I never bothered doing it. Like a little bag of screws that I've got to like screw the... Anyway, whatever, you don't care. DFF Mike Patton versus Maynard. There's no contest there. I mean, Mike Patton is cool, but Maynard is ultra cool. Why are you crying? Is there somebody behind me you're talking to? Did you make the label for your beanie? No. I don't even remember where I got this beanie. I've had it for like 10 years. Probably snagged it at a skate shop somewhere. I liked hats for a long time. I used to have a lot of hats. Now I've got like 2 or 3 beanies and a ball cap that I wear. So my collection of hats has gone down. But this is one of my older hats, and I have no idea. Bruce Valanche wrote the Star Wars Christmas special. He did. How Marxist would you say you are? Not very. There's... I don't really... Like, maybe you guys can help me. I'm not super politically savvy in that I know what every ideology is about at the face value of it. I know what Marxism is. I know that I don't consider myself to be a Marxist. What is my ideology? What do you call it? You know, I'm a far future transhumanist. I advocate for a completely new global paradigm, and I advocate for allowing the current system to collapse under the weight of its, you know, own greed and self-servingness and all that. Like, what am I? What do you call that? What, you know, where does that fall? What's the handy dandy political label for that? Techno-liberal? Is that an actual thing? Or did you just make that up? A Highdeologist? Yeah, there you go. What vape flavor today? Bubblicious grape, my friend. What's your favorite Kanye West song or album? My favorite Kanye West song is Good Morning, and my favorite album overall is probably my dark, twisted fantasy. My beautiful, dark, twisted fantasy. That album is something else, man. That album came out of some weird place in his head that, I don't know. I love that Kanye is openly talking about his mental illness too, because he's pointing out a whole lot of hypocrisy and shit in the way that people treat you after your diagnosis becomes public. You know, I saw him tweeting. I don't know. I think it was last week or some shit about how, you know, people love his albums when he's off his meds and shit, but they want to act like he's falling apart on social media and shit. So the narrative is always a double narrative, basically. It's like, oh, Kanye's new album is fucking brilliant and everything about it is great. But, you know, also this twin narrative of, oh, I'm concerned about Kanye, or Kanye's crazy, or Kanye needs to get back on his meds. You know, it's just like you like the fruits of his craziness, but you also want to stand in judgment of him for being crazy. Make up your mind. I used to listen to Paul's Ego TAA back when I played WoW in middle school. Hey, buddy. Yeah, pick up WoW again, man. WoW Classic is coming out. Aren't you stoked? Aren't you guys stoked? Like, the only place that World of Warcraft could go was backwards. Welcome to WoW Classic. How are gamers, like, excited about this? How is that exciting? We rolled back all of the UI improvements that we've made over the course of this game's 10, 12-year development cycle, and given you the base, stock, buggy, grindy, fucking Raider exclusive in-game solo, basically fucking, I don't know, dude. Old World of Warcraft is like not a good game. Paul, do you agree with TJ's bit about Trump breaking politics? Do you approve of anything Trump did at all? I mean, we covered some things on Flash Fried where I showed some approval for some positions that he's taken. I'd say that overall I approve of his decision to remove troops from the Middle East, although I do understand the argument that it's a geopolitical blunder. It's kind of a nightmare from a militaristic standpoint. I'd still rather we not have troops spread out all over the world fighting proxy wars and shit. So I guess I'm okay with that. I think it's good that he championed the recent criminal justice reform legislation that passed. It's going to lead to, you know, less harsh sentencing in the future for people who are booked on simple possession or intent to distribute. I don't think that that law is anywhere near enough to fix the criminal justice system, but it's a start. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say we'd be better off without that law. So, and he was, you know, a supporter and a champion of that law. So he's done some good stuff, you know. I don't know if he broke politics. I don't know if I agree with TJ that he absolutely broke politics. But I think he's definitely done what people wanted him to do. I think he's shaken up the status quo to an extreme degree. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not 100% sure. In other words, give credit where it's due. I mean, if you want to be honest, the whole meme that sprung up on the right as a counter to criticism of Trump, the bad man orange meme. The reason for that is because people tend to be myopic when they hate a president or a politician, and that smacks of dishonesty. And people don't like dishonesty. And when you're dishonest and hypocritical on the face of your statements, then it's easy for people to point that out. I'm gonna go grab something to drink. I'll be right back. Darn no. Hey. Dinor needed a drink too. He did one of his giant, like, elephant drinks. Dinor likes to wait. He likes to wait to eat, and he likes to wait to drink until he's, like, in desperate need. Like, you'll never see him touch his water, and then all of a sudden you'll walk into the room and he'll just have his face in that bowl and he'll be like, and it just keeps going. Bloop, 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 bloop. Dinor's anorexic? I don't think so. He's not skinny. He's not skinny. Come here. You're not skinny. Got a chubby. Got a little chunk. Got a little chunk to you. When do they start doing, like, the 24 hours of a Christmas story thing? I don't even get TV anymore, so I guess kind of sucks. I know I could just put the movie on and just replay it end to end, but I don't know. There's something lost in that for me. I started doing that in the 90s, and I think they started doing that tradition of playing that movie end to end in the 90s, or if they did it earlier, I didn't learn about it until like probably 93 or something. And I was having like a bad Christmas. Christmas for me after my parents divorced is, I don't know. It's never been, I don't have a whole lot of good memories. I mean, I don't have bad memories of it. I'm not saying it was terrible. But when you've got like that whole blended family thing, where you've got like, step parents. You've just got like 15 different Christmases that you have to go to. It's not even just two, because think about it. My dad's side of the family did a traditional like Christmas Eve get together, so I'd go to that. Then my dad would do a Christmas thing, so that's 2 Christmases already on that side of the family. Then my mom's side of the family would get together and do a Christmas thing. That's 3 Christmases. Then my mom would do like Christmas Day. That's 4. Then my ex-wife's family would do Christmas. That's 5. She was also a product of a divorced and blended family, so she had step parents as well. Do the math. All of a sudden, what is supposed to be your whole family getting together and having fun now becomes an endless procession of different visits to different chunks of people, and you really have no time to just sit and enjoy being alive. So I really appreciate Christmas now that I'm an adult, because I don't go 2 fucking places for Christmas. I don't. I spend my Christmas in one place. Why do people have the urge to make Christmas hell? I don't get it. Pick one fun place to be and be there. Simple. It's not that simple, though. It isn't that simple. There's politics involved. And go on Twitter if you want to see how politics work out in terms of harmony and getting people together. I'm not talking about like Trump and Pelosi politics. I'm talking about family politics, which are even nastier and even more hypocritical, you know what I mean, than national politics are. This idea that we can't set aside our personal differences and all get together in one place and be filled with joy and mirth. Like it's accepted as normal, but really it's just a sign of immaturity in people. It's a sign of your parents probably not being mature enough to have raised and had you. Because if they're willing to turn a child's Christmas from the wonder of like opening toys and spending all day at the house together with all the family and eating a big turkey and stuff, if they're willing to take that and carve it up into a bunch of little nuggets and chunks that don't even really approximate what a real Christmas is, that's immaturity. That's putting your own inability to set aside your animosity with the person that you made a baby with and fucking up a kid's Christmas with it. I hated my parents for ruining Christmas in that way. I remember thinking it was just disgusting, the way that they were incapable of coming together and even being in the same room. And I'm not talking about they should be kissing under the mistletoe or anything. I wasn't hoping for my parents to get back together. I was hoping that for Christmas, for that time of year, maybe we could all just get together in one room, have a meal together, exchange presents, sing "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas" or something, and pretend we are what we are, which is a fucking family, right? I never really got a whole lot of that after my parents divorced, but I got a taste of it when I was a little kid, when my parents were still together. Christmas was great. I remember Christmas being like total magic as a kid, but the clearer memories that I have of that from my later, adolescence. You ever make New Year's resolutions? I make the same resolution every year, and I always succeed at it. I resolved to not make a single New Year's resolution ever. This is, I think, 8 years in running that's been my resolution, and I have had nothing but success with it. How old were you when your parents divorced? That's a hard question to answer, because my parents had, like many marriages, a tumbling, crashing, circling the drain marriage. They separated for the first time when I was 9 or 8. I think would have been 1988 or 89, they separated for the first time. There was a constant back and forth of we're back together, we're apart, we're dating other people, oh, we're trying again. That happened. They ended up eventually, I think, fully divorcing. How old are you in sixth grade? Because it was around the sixth grade. How old is a sixth grader? 12? Something like that. So I was a sixth grader. 11, yeah, that sounds about right. Somewhere in that zone. I love all the trolls. They're like, 28, 32, 38, 64. I don't know the stupid score. Go fight, win tonight. Boy, I hope I look all right. Why do I remember that? You know what just crawled out of my fucking psyche in front of all of you? A cheerleading cheer that I listened to my little sisters do when I was a fucking teenager. It just crawled out of my fucking brain. I haven't heard that since I was like fucking 14, going like, shut up, please. The whole thing is, let me see if I can remember it. I can. Oh my, okay, here it is. Dude, this is the gayest thing ever for a dude to know. But you have to understand, I spent like a years in a room listening to this type of shit. So here it goes. This is a cheer that they used to do. I think it was like a joke cheer among the cheerleaders, but they loved it. So here it goes. It goes, oh my God, I think I need a manicure. Oh, the sun is bleaching out my hair. 38, 64, I don't know the stupid score. Go fight, win tonight. Boy, I hope I look all right. That just creeped. Yeah, I know that was gay. I know. That just crawled like a slimy worm out of my fucking memory. Just like, hey, remember me? It's just like, oh, get back in there. Get back in my subconscious, please. I'm trying to remember if I remember any of the other ones. A lot of them were just nonsensical. Like there was like a choo-choo train one I remember, because we were they were cheerleaders for our high school team, and the high school mascot in Madera at that time was the Madera Coyotes. So they would be like what was that? Oh yeah, it had they would be like bang bang choo-choo train, come on coyotes, do your thing, woo ch ch ch, woo ch ch. That was one that I heard fucking a million. Trust me, dude. You don't want to know the horror of like wanting to play your Genesis, but having to share the room the Genesis is in with 3 cheerleaders who are all doing these songs over and over and over again. You know, it's not good. It's not a good look. Trying to play my Genesis, bro. I was trying to play Shining Force 2. I'm trying to get all the secret characters. I'm trying to unlock all the secret transformations for the characters that have them into their like super, you know what I mean, their super class. I'm in there. I'm trying to do that. And you know how that is. Do that, especially when you're a kid. That shit requires focus. Like as an older person now, I feel like games are much easier to just put down and walk away from. But back in the day, dude, you had to be like, as a kid, I just remember being like, you know, like you're very like, and like you got these fucking just like horrible pubescent chicks just screeching at the top of their lungs over and over the same little rhymes and shit. It's just like, I'm trying to remember if there's any other ones that lodged themselves up there. The Coyotes one I told you guys about. They would do oh my God, dude. I just remembered one. It was like a practice drill that they would do. and they would clap this different way. I don't even know, dude. I can't do the moves, but they would be like, COYOTES, coyotes, oh yes, or some shit like that. I don't know. It was like coyotes the best or coyotes, oh yes. And they would just do it over and over again. COYOTES, coyotes, oh yes. COYOTES, coyotes, oh yes. And I'm just like I'm going through the fucking final dungeon and, you know, Shining Force 2. What are they doing now? They all have different jobs and careers. They're all mothers. Your moves are weak, man. I know. I mean, all of this stuff, like I said, just slithered out of my subconscious. I haven't thought about any of this shit for years and years and years. They're all mothers? Yes. They're all mothers now. Every last one of my sisters has procreated. Do you miss those times or just a memory? I don't know. I mean, the way this came about was more just a weird memory slithering out of my brain. Something one of you guys said, or something I thought while thinking about something one of you guys said, made that come just. But I do miss those times sometimes. Yeah. I mean, your life is way simpler. Oh man, G-O, let's go, let's go. That just slithered out. I remember that. G-O, let's go, let's go. G-O, let's go, let's go. Fight. Well, you know, whatever. Oh my God. I just made a connection in my head to something. I just figured something out. You guys know this TikTok meme of this chick? She's got pigtails and she's doing the hit or miss thing. She's doing the hit or miss. I guess they never miss, or whatever the fuck, right? You got a boyfriend, I bet he doesn't kiss ya. That shit. All right, I'm making an admission to you here that I'm not proud of, but I'm obsessed with I hate it. But I'm obsessed with watching that video, and I thought it was just because, all right, she's an attractive chick, and it's probably tickling some primal like thing in my head. But I wonder if it's that part of because she's dressed just like my sisters were dressed when they were fucking teenagers and shit. So I wonder if it's some kind of like part of my psyche that like remembers that, because I'll listen to it end to end to end for like 3 minutes. I'm wondering if that's what's going on, dude. I'm wondering if that's what's going on. So that's the thing, though. It's when I'm watching that hit or miss thing, I'm not like going like, you know, I'm just like it's not like oh yeah, look at her. Oh yeah, I'm gonna watch it again. Like that's never like my demeanor is always just like. Which is the same demeanor that I had back in the day when my sisters were G-O, let's go, let's go. C-O-Y-O-T-E-S. It's the same shit. Is it not? Hit or miss, I guess they never miss, huh? You got a boyfriend, I bet he doesn't kiss ya. You ever feel like a primitive mating beast? Every day of my life, bro. Oh, what a question. You're haunted by many things, Paul. You ain't kidding, man. I'm a straight up haunted person. My past is like a monster. It's just like, here's this fucking thing. I'm just like, oh, hit or miss. Oh, God, why am I watching this again? Oh, fuck me. Whatever. Well, here's the thing. If you go to the, like, there's the original clip of that on YouTube. It might not be the original, but the one that blew up. It's like got 6 million views on it or some shit. And it's filled with people just like me in the comments that are just like, I don't even know why I watch this. I don't even know why. I don't even know why I watch this over and over again. It's so stupid. You know, and it'll have like, that comment will have like 6,000 upvotes. And I'm just like, oh. Well, at least it's not just me. Beware the giant worm, yeah. Yeah, work continues, my friend. The cast of DFF were in a Christmas carol. Who would be which ghost? I'm not going to answer that. I'm not going to answer that. For a reason that will become clear. Paul, would you ever consider becoming a mall cop? If I needed a job? Let me ask you this. Would you? If your option was live in a dumpster or in the backseat of your car or be a mall cop, would you consider being a mall cop? Raise your hand if you'd consider being a mall cop in that instance. I would not be a cool mall cop. See, that's a misconception you've got about me, Sarah. I would not be a cool mall cop. I would be the biggest prick ever. I'd be chasing off you little skateboarding kids, making you pull your pants up. Hey, your underwear is showing. You're in public. Pull up pants up, kid. Why? Because that's my job. See, here's the thing about me. I do my job. I do my job. Okay? If I got a job, I do it. Mall cops are supposed to walk around and be pricks. If that's my job, that's what I'm going to do. If I just sat around and I was like a chill mall cop that let all the fucking teenagers eat ice cream in the fucking middle of the mall and make messes and walk around with their pants down, I'd get fired. There's no such thing as a cool mall cop. The job of a mall cop is to be a douche. Yeah, I'd be hitting on all the moms. That's part of the job. A douche with no real power, exactly. There is not a Paul Blart kind of mall cop, dude. There is not. There's only a douche. Trust me, I came from the last generation that actually chilled at malls. Believe it or not, what you see before you has probably spent 1,000 hours in malls. That used to be where kids went. Like, we would all, like, on the weekend and shit, we'd go chill at the mall. You know what I mean? We'd carpool in 2 big fucking carloads of fucking teenagers, and we'd just go to the mall. None of us had any money. We'd just hang there, you know? Walk around, window shop, get into trouble, spend a little bit of pocket change on getting an orange Julius, you know? And I was right at the tail end of that. So it wasn't even, I mean, it was on its way out when I was doing it. So, did you do substances in the mall? Not in the mall, but we would go out to our car and like smoke a doob. Like we'd you know, hot box a doob out in the parking lot or something before we went into the mall. And then if we were chilling there for a long time, we might walk out the Macy's entrance or something, go back to the car, smoke out, and then walk in the move the car and walk in the front entrance so it's not obvious what we're doing. Ever got caught? Nope. Smoke a dude? No, a doob. A doobie. Do you use public toilets in the mall? I just told you that I used to spend all day in the mall. Where do you think I crapped? This is the 90s, yeah. Like, that's like asking me, did you eat like food from the mall food court ever? I just told you I spent probably like 1,000 lifetime hours just loitering in malls. Yeah. Yeah, I ate food court shit. When did you first use the internet? Depends on, like, do you guys consider the BBSs before the publicly available internet was out to be the internet? Because I kind of look at them as the proto-internet, but they're not technically the internet, because it was, one direct connection with a machine. But yeah, I remember surfing local BBSs when I was 8 or 9. So that would have been 88, 89. A BBS is a bulletin board system, for those of you that don't know. Basically, back in the day, you'd have a modem attached to your computer, and if you knew the number of a machine that hosted a BBS, you would dial that number with your modem. Your modem would call that machine and establish a connection with it, and you would get access to all of the resources that were on that machine. So it was almost like a remote virtual machine type of thing. The BBS was hosted on that machine. There were different things that you could do. You could actually play games. I used to play these things called MUDs, which is an acronym for multi-user dungeon, which was like it's a precursor to modern MMORPGs. It was a text-based dungeon with a predefined map, and characters would walk around by using text commands. So you would say walk forward, and you would walk forward, and then you would say look, and you would get a description of what you saw. You were in a room with a golden shield on the wall, and a blacksmith stands in the corner hammering away. There are 3 other people here. And you would wander around this dungeon, and some of them you could attack one another outside of town and loot each other's bodies and stuff. I used to play those on BBSs all the time. Those were hosted on machines that you would call directly. So that, 88. Zork, oh yeah, I played Zork like all the time. They used to have BBS meetups too. Oh yeah, I never was super into it enough to where, but yeah, dude, like BBSs were around for a long time and people were pretty dedicated to the good ones, but they were very regional. You didn't have people from fucking Tokyo wouldn't be calling your local BBS, so it would be people in your region that had it. And I was in a region that only had a couple of BBSs that were accessible. Like the LA region, New York had a lot of crazy huge BBSs that people were really dedicated to and had really strong communities and meetups and all that stuff around. So it really was, in my mind, the beginnings of what would become the modern internet. So that would be the first time I played around with that. Would have been in 88, 87, something like that. Ever have a Mac? Yeah, I was actually a Mac technician for 8 years, or 7 years, I guess. When I worked for the school district, I was a Macintosh technician, so I owned Macs for 7 years, learned how to work on them. When I hear BBS, I keep thinking of the wheels. How'd you get into being a technician? I scammed my way into it. I mean, I applied for the position at a time when the job description for technician in my school district was horribly outdated and didn't require a computer science degree. So I basically applied for a job that I had no idea how to do and sweet talked my way into I don't know, like having them hire me and train me, where they really wanted me to be ready to start working on day one. I was like, I managed to talk them into hiring and training me. So that's what I did. How did you sweet talk? And it's not like there wasn't one thing that I did. It's just I know a lot of social graces. I know how to make myself presentable, and I know how to present myself as a hard worker that's willing to learn and a good member of a team and a dedicated person and all of that. But yeah, you would not be able to walk into the same school district that I worked in and do that now, because the job description now requires, as an entry level thing, a bachelor's in computer science at the very least. They also want like 2 years of working corporate experience. So it doesn't work out very well. But that's how I got that job. What was your salary? I'm trying to remember. It's been quite a few years since I worked that job. I think it broke down to something a little over 20 an hour. I think it was making something like 21 or 22 an hour, which was a pretty good living in the area that I lived in. Let's see, super chats. I guess I'm missing super chat. Why do you not read super chat? Paul, you missed super chat. God damn it, Paul. Read your super chat. Jesus. Paul, $500 to shave your entire beard and all. Do you do it? I'm talking baby butt smooth now. Not for $500, no. Jesus Christ, man. What the fuck? Have you ever worked as a walker? Nope. Don't even know what that is. Paul, those cheers you did sound more like a game of the dozens than middle school anthems. Yeah, I don't know. They were just cheerleader. They were cheers that the cheerleader. I don't know how to explain it to you. That's all I know about it. How about 1,000? Nope. I mean, I don't know, dude. I'd probably do it for like $5,000. For like a cool 5 Gs in my hand, I'd shave the beard. Smooth down to the face, baby face smooth. You like Christmas? I do. Do you do guided meditations, or do you just do it on your own? I do it on my own. They walk racehorses after they run to cool them down. Yeah. You're supposed to, like, when you have a real big burst of energy, you're supposed to, like, have a cool down period. Did they argue over my sisters argue over whose boyfriend had the better tasting semen? If they did, they didn't do it in front of me. Have you ever seen the new Californication on Netflix? No. How much to shave the beard but keep the sideburns like massive mutton chops? I might just do that on my own, so stay tuned, I guess. I have been like on the cusp so many times of like had the little razor there, and I'm ready to just start making the cut, because I just want to cut it right here. I want to cut around the stash, right? So right in here, start there, and just go straight down. Remove this whole patch of hair right here. See? You can see a little shape of things to come there, can't you? Eh? Hey? I've come very, very close to doing it several times. Should I do it right now? Should I do it right now? God, I have the itch to do it. What if it looks terrible, though? What if I do it? I guess, Worst case scenario, right? I just shave the beard off and start again, right? Here's the problem. Let me tell you guys what the structure, what the problem with this is, okay? This is at least 4 or 5 year beard. I have trimmed this beard back several times around the edges and cleaned it up, but I have not cut this beard in any significant way in probably 5 years. That's a long time. It's half a decade I've had this on my face. I'm dating someone right now who has never seen me in person without a beard and who likes my beard very much. She likes to touch it. She likes to snuggle and nuzzle her nose into it. She likes the way it smells. If I mess this up, she's not going to be happy. There are other thoughts going on here. There are other thought processes that I have to. Do you have a cougar attack plan for you? What? No. Get out of here, Adam. Thank you for the $10 though. Appreciate it. What this is? Paul, please don't shave your beard. See? Think of the, well, yeah, for you, there's lulls. For me, there's just deep, abiding regret. So I'd probably just like take some scissors first and just start cutting away right here. Just like grab as much of it as I can, separate out the stuff that I know I don't want in it, you know, and then just start like shearing away. And once I had this trimmed back, just go in there with the razor and just all the way down the neck. There is one thing though that I saw the other day that I think I'm gonna start doing. I saw a dude that had the same kind of beard as me, and it was long. It's rare to see a dude that has my kind of beard go crazy with it because it's not I don't know, it's not an easy beard to maintain. But his beard, it looks like naturally, had just kind of separated into these two like forks. And my beard does this, and I try really hard to not let it do that. I'm always brushing it out. But as it settles, it naturally settles into like these two forks. And I think I'm just gonna let it start doing what it wants to do so that I don't have to brush it so much and pull hairs out and break hairs. Because my beard definitely wants to like segment itself right here and have these kind of two forks of beard that like invite the lesbian landlord you almost had for Christmas. Yeah, okay, all right, I'll get right on the phone with her. Braid it. No, I ain't doing it, dude. I ain't doing it today. I can't, man. I just can't. It's too much. You want to see chemo, Paul? To shave everything? 20 grand. 20 grand, I'll shave my eyebrows. I'll pluck every one of my eyelashes out. I will completely wax the inside of my nose, shave my entire beard, all my hair. I'll do it. Do it or no balls. Well, I guess no balls. How much? Yeah, okay, we're up to date. Watching black and white television shows makes me physically ill. Cool. Just get a beard wig. Do they have beard wigs? I guess they got fake beards, but just want to stop and briefly say thanks for always being around with engaging and thoughtful content, and it enriches my life. It's one of the few things that do. I hope you have a good holiday. Same to you, my friend. And thank you for the kind words. 20,000 Ugandan dollars, not a penny more. Yes, not a penny more. Did you start the water fast yet? I don't know that I'm gonna do it. I looked into it. It's not real good for you. So I don't know. We had a discussion the other day about a possible diet that we're gonna try for content for the show, more than anything. Somebody told me that I think it was cool. Maybe it was Coolman that told me this. That Willie Nelson eats oatmeal for breakfast every day and bacon and eggs for dinner, and that's what he eats. And I thought, you know what, dude? I might be able to hang with that kind of a fucking diet. I might be able to get into a swing where that's like what I eat. I like the oatmeal every morning for the hubby. Cool. Lucky hubby, dude. Wish somebody'd make me oatmeal every goddamn morning. I guess I could make me oatmeal every goddamn morning. Steel cut is good. I like oats. I like oatmeal. I used to eat it a lot when I was a kid. I don't eat it a lot now as an adult, but I think I could settle into a pattern of food, like where because like when you talk to a lot of old people, one of the things that I've noticed, people always want to ask old people like, "What do you eat? Like, what do you do?" And a lot of old people answer like they eat the same thing every day. They'll be like, "I have a boiled egg for breakfast, a piece of grapefruit for lunch, and then a pork chop for dinner." You know what I mean? They settle into some kind of a routine where it's like they're eating the same predictable thing every day, and I think I could totally do that. Like, I think I could be a dude that, you know, aside from eating out every once in a while, which those old people probably do too, but on a day-to-day basis, I find some healthy, easy to maintain routine of eating, and I just maintain that, and I just eat the same kind of thing every day. Do you put salt or sugar in it? I like sweeter oatmeal, but I like salty oatmeal too. But I prefer it sweet. Ashley can tell you Paul eats out a lot. Winky face. Can I toss puff rice cakes at your mouth at a meetup? Sure. If you want. Whatever floats your boat, bro. I'm not gonna complain. You ever had a goatee? Yeah. There's actually a picture of me floating around out there when I sported the goatee look. I had a goatee for a long time. I actually flipped the script in high school. I used to have no hair up here, and I'd had these big kind of mutton chops. They weren't this out of control, but I kept like, you know, the trimmed mutton chop thing in high school. And then after high school, when I finally started to be able to grow a beard, for some reason, the full beard look, I felt like, oh, you know, people think I'm homeless or whatever. So I did the goatee for a long time. I just had like the, whatever they call it, a Van Dyke, I guess, where you got the mustache and the goatee. I don't think it was a good look for me, but whatever. You had a mullet in high school with a tail? Damn. I had a mullet once, but never in high school. I had a mullet when I was like 8. There was this football player named Brian Bosworth. You can look him up. It's B-O-Z Worth. He used to be called the Boz. And he had this hairstyle where it was like a flat top on top with like lines and crazy shit shaved in the side, and then the back was all like long, you know, so, you know, the typical Golden 7 mullet. And I wanted that haircut when I was a kid, and my mom was like, all right, fine, whatever. So I ran around with a Boz for a while. Rat tails, oh yeah, dude, I never had a rat tail. My mom would not allow that. She hated those things, man. They were common, like, amongst kids in my class and stuff. I remember her, like, talking about how, like, man, every time I see one of those little rat tails, I just want to grab it, pull it off of there. I just want to grab it and cut it. Just like, ugh, why would you do that? She was fine with the Boz, though. You know, she was fine with a mullet, but the rat tail, like, wouldn't have happened. Do you ever dye? No. 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 I'm going gray. I mean, you got, I don't, it's hard to tell because the lighting out here isn't great, but right in here, you can really tell, like, where normal people start going gray from. I'm, you know, right up in the front. I'm starting to get this salt and pepper thing in my beard. And I don't care. Like, I'll never do that just for men gel shit. I'll never dye my hair. Dude, guys don't know that, like, you can always tell if a dude dyes his shit. It just looks like he rubbed a bunch of fucking black shoe polish in his beard and shit. Like, you can totally tell. It looks stupider than just normal gray hair. Just let it happen. Do you still get acne? Is acne just like any pimple, or is acne a pattern of having a problem with pimples? That's a question that I don't know that I know the answer to. I always thought that, like, if you say I have acne, that means that you have common recurring pattern of having pimples. And I never had acne, if that's the definition of acne. I get pimples. When I was a teenager, I probably got them more often than I do now. I'd get, you know, pimple on my nose or pimple on my chin or whatever the fuck. And every once in a while now, I'll get a pimple somewhere. Like up here, I'll get a pimple, like on my nose or in this crease. Sometimes I'll get a pimple. But I don't, yeah, I don't know. Is that acne or not? I don't know. Biggest pimple you've ever popped? I mean, I told the story of that on the Drunken Peasant. I mean, I guess it wasn't a pimple. That was more of an abscess. But the pilonidal cyst by a long shot. Round as usual, yeah. People with acne when young get less skin wrinkles later in life. Probably because they take better care of their skin. Because they're always like moisturizing and cleaning their skin. Have you ever popped a pimple into the mirror from like a foot away? Onto the mirror, yeah, it's happened. That happened to me when I was a teenager once. I was at a friend's house when it happened too. It was gross. I was like in the bathroom and I like washed my hands or something and I looked up at the mirror and I just saw this like, it was just like this giant fucking pimple on my nose or right here or some shit. And I was like, so I just like looked in the mirror and did the squeeze and it was like, I was like, oh. All right, well, at least that'll go away in a couple days now. It's gross. It feels good. I mean, yeah, it feels better than having like a big old enraged pimple on your face, but it's kind of gross, no? I always thought it was. I know people are like, there's a lot of people that have that like popping philia or whatever the fuck. There's tons of those videos on YouTube, like of people popping big old pimples and abscesses and shit. And it's just like, I guess I can see why people are satisfied by that, but to me, the grossness overrides it. Like, I can't watch that shit. I can't be like, How wrinkly would your face have to get to be embarrassed? I wouldn't care. Wrinkles? Like, what am I going to do about wrinkles? I'm already embarrassed to have people see me. The wrinkles ain't going to help or hinder that. Did you collect any bodily waste as a hobby? No. Did you? You guys are gross with this pimple shit, man. You guys are disgusting. I'm not even going to read that, Morgan. because it had the words "Big Swollen Whitehead" in it, and I don't want to. You guys are grossing me out, dude. I'm getting queasy. Stop it with the pimple shit. Go watch a popping, compilation or some shit. Get your rocks off there. I'm grossed out right now, man. Any body piercings? I was pierced up as a teenager. Piercings were super popular in the late 90s, and so I'll walk you through the piercings. I had, my left eyebrow was pierced. I used to wear a barbell in that. Septum was pierced, although that's almost completely, I can't even feel. I used to be able to feel where it was, but it's all, like, I can barely feel it now. There it is. I mean, it's closed up, most of it. Septum was pierced, my labret, right here under the lip. I used to wear like a spike or a stud there, and my tongue. My ears were both gauged to, I think I got like down to like a 3s was the highest gauge that I went on my ears. So yeah, I used to have a lot of piercings. How bad was the tongue? Pretty bad. It was kind of weird for me. It kind of fucked the back of these bottom teeth up, because they had to pierce my tongue at an angle. Usually they'll pull your tongue out with forceps and pierce it kind of straight down through the middle. But for me, they had to pierce it like this because I am almost tongue-tied. Whatever that is under there. That little piece of skin that connects your tongue. It's almost all the way to the tip of my tongue. So they had to pierce it like at an angle, which made the bottom ball that came out of the bottom of my tongue rub up against the back of my teeth a lot, which is not a good thing. For like the next day, I couldn't talk. My tongue had swollen up. Like I went to bed. It was very sore, and it was like swollen or whatever. Went to bed. I woke up the next morning, and my tongue was like a lump of concrete on the side of my mouth when I woke up. It filled this entire cheek with tongue. And when I woke up, my mouth was insanely dry, and that tongue was just like, and I was like, okay, this is not good. So basically, like, I couldn't eat. I had to drink broth for a few days. I was constantly rinsing my mouth with warm, salty water, like saline solution, because that's what the dude at the piercing shop told me to do to keep it clean. And after a couple of days, the swelling started to go down. And then I'd say after a week and a half or so, it was normal. I was talking normally again, and it had settled in, and it was fine. How painful was it to get your septum pierced? Makes me cringe thinking about it. It wasn't that bad. I didn't have a real super thick gauge through it. I used to wear like a little ring through it, and I only wore it for a very, very short period of time. So it was a very small gauge piercing, and it was not bad. It's cartilage up here, so there's a lot of nerve endings there, but I'd say the worst one by far was my tongue. The second only to the labret. This one down here hurt really bad too. That's a sensitive spot right at the base of your lip there. That one hurt really bad as well. You have a needle phobia? See, I don't. I actually like watching people, give me IVs or draw blood or whatever it is with needles. I don't have a problem with it. I feel better watching it happen than not watching it happen. Thickest gauge piercing you put in? Like I said, I think it was a 3. I think I got down to a 3 or a 2 in my ears at one point. If you look at like the very beginning of my time on the Drunken Peasants, I had 6s. Like I had some hoops in, or some barrels, some 6 gauge barrels in. So I was kind of stretching out again, but I don't know why I stopped. I just did. I looked at it and I was like, I think one of the reasons I stopped, honestly, is that you can't see my ears. Like, look. Especially if, my hair down, the beard sticking out like this. What point would it be for me to have some big dangling earrings or some shit? You know what I mean? I don't dislike the look for myself, but at this point, I can't see it, and most people can't see it. So, let me turn on the fucking light out here. Oh, Dinor, please, buddy. Buddy boy. back out, or are you staying in? Come on, buddy. Just bring your little bed out here for you one of these days. Anyway, yeah, lights are on now, so you can see what I'm talking about. You can't see my ears, my hair and beard cover, so there's really no point. I have thought about getting my septum done, but I'd want to gauge it this time if I did that. That's the one piercing that I've considered like getting well, my septum and the labret, I think I would get again. I like the look of that, and I kind of miss having some kind of piercing, but missed a super chat, I guess. Let me check it out. Don't shave the beard. Also, Merry Christmas. Oh, thanks, Jay Darky. Yeah, I'm not doing it. Merry Christmas to you too, my friend. Did a response to DFF. You should check it out. A response to DFF? To what? Paul needs a taint piercing like Chris Chan. Chris Chan has a taint piercing? Damn. Damn. You have a favorite Christmas song? Silver Bells has always been my favorite Christmas song. It's not a super common, not a super popular one, but you hear it every fucking year. You can go look it up if you want to. It was a video where you said something that was unusually cynical. Don't remember specifically what, but it was very dark. Oh, okay. Sorry. You ever accidentally throw change into a homeless man's cup, then find out he had liquid in the cup and wasn't homeless? Nope, never happened to me. Love you, big boy. Merry Christmas. Hey, thanks, bro. Did you ever consider going to Middle Eastern Europe to visit castles there? Yeah, I wouldn't go to to Eastern Europe to visit. I probably wouldn't go there specifically to visit the castles, but I'd probably go to Eastern Europe. You know, I hear Poland is actually pretty cool. Like Krakow is supposed to be a pretty cool. At least it was back in like the early 2000s or whatever. You can get your arse pierced these days. That doesn't sound like it'd be easy to get rid of. Whoa, money. Hey, thanks, pickle dude. I've never traveled abroad. I've never been out of the United States other than to Mexico. I've been to Mexico. When I was a kid, we used to cross into Tijuana from San Diego. And I've been on I went on a cruise for my honeymoon that was like a Mexican Riviera cruise. So I've been to Cabo San Lucas and Mazatlan and Puerto Vallarta. But I've never been out of North America. You've traveled to abroad. Yeah, that's true. I haven't traveled abroad, but I have traveled to abroad. Yeah, that is true. Got a point. Was the cruise 10 out of 10? It was actually pretty cool, but here's what I'll say about cruises. I would not I'm spoiled to cruises because I've never purchased myself a cruise. When my ex-wife and I got married, her family and my family got together, pulled some money together, and got us a nice cruise for our honeymoon. Because they knew that we were young and just, we didn't have a whole lot of money and we were just starting out. So, they got us a cruise with a cabin. Now, I thought at the time that I took the cruise that that's how everybody's cruise was. That everybody got a little, because it wasn't a huge room, but it's like a small motel room and it has a cabin with a balcony that you can walk out on and sit. And I thought that the ship was just dotted with those types of things for the people that were on the ship, and then, but no, that is absolutely not the case. most people who go on cruises get like a cabin that's below decks, so you have a little porthole window, if one at all, very small, cramped lodging. I don't think I'd go on a cruise if that was the case, because it's cool to walk around the ship and do all the cool stuff, but it's also cool to have a place to go that's away from all those people and just chill and look at the ocean and sit on a deck and smoke a cigarette or whatever it is you do. So if you're gonna do a cruise, I would recommend that you save up money for long enough to be able to afford like a room with a balcony. If you're anything like me, if you're one of these people that like the place you, because it's basically like, is the place you stay important to you on a cruise? Like, if you're one of these people that like, oh, that's just the place I put my bags and the place I flop down to sleep, and I'm gonna be running around the ship all fucking day long just doing activities and doing this and doing that. If you're one of those people, then it's probably fine to take the cheap room in a cruise. But for me, like, for the cruise is supposed to be about chilling, relaxing. I have a great connection with the ocean, so like being able to sit on a private, somewhat private at least, balcony, kick your feet up, smoke a cigarette, and look at the ocean in a way that you don't ever get to see it. If you've never been on a cruise, if you've never been on the ocean at night is one of the most beautiful things you'll ever see. During the day it's beautiful, obviously, but at night the ocean becomes completely black and basically becomes sound. You can't really see much of the ocean, but you can hear it all around you, so you know it's there, but it's just black. And if you're out on the open ocean when the moon is full, the moon creates this highway of light leading all the way to the horizon, where you can see intricate little details of the waves and stuff going all the way back to the logical like vanishing point. It's fucking amazing. That to me is like, the first time I saw that, I almost cried, because it was just like the immense vastness of it and just the absolute aesthetic beauty of it. It was just perfect. The moon in the center of the sky, this beautiful unbroken trail of light going all the way to the horizon, all of that shit rippling. A beautiful thing to see if you've never seen it. There was another cool thing that I saw on the cruise. We were on the cruise, right? So that you have different places you can go to eat. There's like more cheaper kind of greasy spoon kind of buffet style eating, which we did. That's good too, where you can go and you get a big scoop of mashed potatoes and you grab a corn dog or a chicken wing or whatever it is you want. And then they've got like this curated dining experience that you can go to if you want, which is like more of a fancier sit down kind of, you sit down and there's a menu and you can choose between 2 or 3 things, and it's really, more upscale type of food. So we got a table that was right next to a big porthole where we could see, and we were, the restaurant and the ship that we were on was just above water level. So the porthole, we were very, very kind of just maybe 5 or 10 feet off of the surface of the ocean. And, we were sitting there eating, and it was next to our table, so it was very easy for us as we were eating to look out and just look at the ocean as it flew by, as the ship is just steaming, And as I was looking out there, I noticed something like jump out of the water, and I thought it was just a normal fish. But as I looked at it, I noticed that and I've never seen one of these in my life up until this point. It was a flying fish, which are just like, if you've seen like documentaries about flying fish, they're amazing to look at when they're photographed, but seeing them in person is like, it's like looking at an alien, because they swim alongside the ship and they come out, and then they spread these wings that, they're not wings, they're fins, but they look like dragonfly wings, and they sail along the side of the ship and eventually hit the water, and then, and there'll be a whole school of them. I got the unique privilege of watching an entire school of those little flying fish coasting along with our fucking boat, floating along the top of the water. And then they, when they go to hit, they fold those fins in and they, so cool. So cool, And as I'm eating dinner, that's what's out the window. You know, I mean, you don't get that anywhere else. You got to do a cruise or you got to go on a big boat to get that, you know. Love the Dahmer episode. You can tell you did your research and it was interesting to listen to. Well, thanks, man. I really did. You know, I caught a real passionate bug when I was researching that. It started out as a very normal episode. Like I had it, you know, childhood, teen years, killings, media, you know, and it still kind of kept that basic structure, but I was able to find a whole lot more connection with that story than I thought I would. That book was haunting to read. And, but yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, check it out. Become a patron. It's good. Yeah, I was really like, I found myself, like, the more I dug and the more I read that book, the more fascinated I got with Jeffrey Dahmer. And I feel like there's a hard line to walk. I empathize with human beings, not based on what they've done, but based on a sense of common humanity. And that's one way of looking at human beings, but it's not a popular way. Most people, I feel, prefer categorizing human beings into various levels of worthiness for empathy. They have a great empathy for people that they consider quote unquote decent people. People that don't lie, they don't cheat, they don't steal, they don't rob, they don't murder, they don't kill, they don't rape. They don't do any of the bad things. They have empathy for those people. And they have a lesser empathy for people that they see as self-abusive and weak. So addicts and you know, drug addicts and alcoholics usually fall into that. And then there's a class of people who I think, like I said, I think a lot of people feel comfortable just going, these people are unworthy of empathy. These people are unworthy because of what they've done, of being looked at like human beings. So they are evil, or they are a monster, or they are, you know, there's something other than us. And that is not true, not in my mind. They're human beings. And they are just as worthy of empathy when it comes to trying to understand them. Now, I'm not talking about empathy like, oh, poor Jeffrey Dahmer was in jail. I don't empathize with people that do horrible things on that level. I empathize with people on a human level. I don't look at them and go like, a monster. I look at them and go, a human being. And what led to that? Like, what combination of genetics and upbringing and social event could you know, culminate in the creation of a person like that? And that's how I've always looked at people. But it's a hard perspective to push because people look at it like you're being soft on somebody that doesn't. Like, once again, you got to remember, they've put Jeffrey Dahmer in that category where he's not worthy of empathy. He's a monster. He's capital E evil. And when people are capital E evil, you don't empathize with them. You don't care what their childhood was like. You don't care what might have what the people that grew up with them thought of them, because they're not worthy of that basic human empathy. You would care about that if this guy was just an iron worker with a little family and a white picket fence who never did anything wrong to anybody. And if he did, he apologized and shook hands. You know, it's very easy to take that person and go, wow. I guess it's not so easy for other people to take another person and go, you know, he was a kid too. He was a child, like I was. Well, what Dahmer did was fucked up, to say the least. It's still important to find out why he did, so we can prevent it from ever happening again. We can't prevent it from ever happening again. I think that's another one of the lessons of learning about serial killers is there's no prevention. A level of understanding could lead to less of that in society, but you don't prevent somebody, that confluence of nature and nurture is going to occur over and over again, and has since the beginning of time. Serial killers are not a new thing. It's just new because we document it now. They've always walked among us. There have always been psychopaths and sociopaths who walk among us. In fact, that's one of the things that we talk about in the episode very briefly. But I'm not put off by this number, but I think it somewhere hovers around 20% of the population shows psychopathy or sociopathy. It's a really high number. It might be less. It might be 15 or 9, but it's a significant chunk of the population are psychopaths. It's a misunderstanding of psychopaths to say that they're all killers. They're not. Some psychopaths are totally law-abiding citizens and make very, very good, they're very good at analytical work. They're very good at work that requires them to detach themselves from emotion because they are naturally detached from that. They make good decision makers, generals, CEOs of companies, soldiers. The list goes on and on. But there is a difference sometimes in some psychopaths that causes them to take those feelings that they don't share with other people, and that manifests as a total disregard for that life. And in a lot of cases, a desire to manipulate that life to the extreme extent for their own personal gratification, whatever that is. I'm not spooked by the numbers, because I think, like I said, it's a misunderstanding of psychopathy to say that, like, oh yeah, those numbers are spooky, because that just means that there's like 9% or 10% of society that's just at any moment could flip out, and that's just not the case. A very, very small subset of psychopaths and sociopaths ever hurt another human being. So there's no reason to be spooked by it, but it is something that you need to take into account. Majority of criminals are not sociopaths, therefore empathetic people are trash. Gotcha. Not exactly sure I follow, but okay. Is TJ one? I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. I think it's possible that TJ shows some elements of that in his psychology. I also think it's possible that I show some elements of it. I was talking on Discord the other day, and maybe it'd be something that we could talk about here, unless I've done it here on Highdeology before, and if so, you guys can stop me, I guess. And I don't mean to, like, let me start with a caveat. I don't like to label people with mental illnesses. Now, just because I don't like to doesn't mean I don't do it, but I don't like it done to me, and so I try to be careful. I try to be careful with throwing around diagnoses. By the way, hi there, Galen. Galen knows TJ longer than I do, and he says that he doesn't think TJ displays anything. So I would defer to Galen on that if you want to be an armchair psychologist. Although I think that, asking TJ and probably a trained professional would be better to make that call. I believe that there's a strong possibility that my father was a he's still alive, that my father may have some element of psychopathy in his mental state or his mental makeup. And I've suspected this for quite some time, for over a decade. It's been something that's kind of nestled in the back of my mind, and it actually is what has led me to have kind of a fascination with people whose minds work that way. It's one of the reasons why those of you that were praising the Dahmer episode liked it so much, because I was able to find a measure of personal fulfillment in learning about the mind of Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't think that my dad is a Jeffrey Dahmer psychopath, and he may not be a psychopath at all. Like I said, I'm not a trained mental health professional. But from an armchair perspective and from through the lens of being his child, I would not be shocked at that diagnosis. And if that is the case, there is a strong possibility that I myself might display some tendencies towards that. Why do you say that? Let me tell you a story that my dad told me. And I might have told this story before, but I think it's an illustrative story. This story came up, and you have to keep in mind, I will tell this story very differently than my dad did. He was full of happiness and mirth telling me this story. This is a story that's kind of a brag for him. Okay. He told me he had this uncle when he was, I don't know, 11, 12, 13, somewhere in that age range, adolescent. Had this uncle who had this house out in the country, and he had a neighbor that was nearby him. And this neighbor had a little poodle that would run around the backyard and yap all day and all night. And it drove my dad's uncle crazy. This would have been my great uncle. So one day, my dad was riding his bike by the uncle's house or whatever and went in to visit him. And the uncle said, "Paulie, I got something for you." He said, "You know that dog that lives next door?" My dad was like, "Yeah." Said, "Drive me crazy. So I tell you what, what's your favorite thing in the world to eat?" And at that time, my dad was very poor growing up. And so he very rarely had access to any kind of desserts at all. Desserts were like a really special thing for him. So he loved root beer floats. He had gotten a root beer float once, and he had just like, oh man, that was his thing, right? So he told him, root beer floats. And he goes, "I'll tell you what, you get rid of that dog, and I'll get you as many root beer floats as you can drink." So my dad came back later that night or the next night or whatever with a brown gunny sack, just a brown, potato sack. And he jumped that person's fence at night, coaxed that dog over to him, stuffed it in the gunny sack, jumped over the fence, got on his bike, rode the bike over to a creek, walked down by the creek and grabbed some rocks from, the big round rocks that grow around a creek bed, put it in the bag with the dog, tied the dog up in the bag, went up back on the bridge that went over the creek and threw it into the water, and then stood and watched it. This is how he described it to me, and he laughed his way through this. He said, I sat there and I watched that bag, poking out different ways, and then it would slow down, and then eventually it just stopped. Then the moral of the story from his perspective is, then the next day I went back over to my uncle's house, and man, I had a ton of root beer floats. You couldn't believe how many root beer floats I had, man. It was awesome. So for me and most people, the moral of that story is, wow, you probably have some deep-seated mental problems. For my dad, the moral of that story is, look at how I got a bunch of root beer floats. You can't diagnose somebody based on one childhood story. It's not the only example of that kind of behavior in my father. Not necessarily that particular, like hurting animals that directly, but behavior that would typify psychopathy in my father. So that's why I have my suspicions. When I learn about people like Jeffrey Dahmer and Lionel Dahmer, who the book A Father's Story is about more than Jeffrey, I see so much of my dad in them, so many echoes of my father. Especially in, I saw so much of him in Lionel Dahmer. So... throwing pups and kittens and sacks and into rivers happened a lot in the countryside, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, you got to take that into account, too. Well, you absolutely disgust me. Enjoy fapping to your streams. Also, when you play XCOM again, I'm playing right now and you're on my squad. Oh, I don't know. Thanks though, bro. We ever talk to your father again? When was the last time you two spoke? Last time we spoke was... I have to do the math. 2016? We had a very brief phone conversation in 2016 after I left my wife. And it was, yeah, that was the last time we spoke. So, 3 years now, something like that. Was he ever violent or hostile towards you? Yeah. What did you guys talk about? He said that I was making him ashamed, and that I was embarrassing myself, and that I should come back to California and re-enter my marriage and handle things like a man. And I told him to go fuck himself, and he hung up on me, and that was the last time I talked to him. Does he have control over you? Obviously not. He wanted me to go back to California and go back to my wife, and I'm sitting in fucking New Orleans, Louisiana 3 years later with a different woman. Wasn't he divorced though? Yes. Once again, the things that my dad criticized in me were things that were definitely present in him. He was very, very disappointed when my marriage broke up. And he felt that I was a cheater because right after leaving my wife, I was already seeing another woman. But that was exactly how my dad lived his life after divorcing my mother. After divorcing my mother, he had a litany of girlfriends that he kept that didn't know about each other, that he would visit at various times and fuck, and they all thought they were exclusively dating him, and he would tell me and my friends about it. And brag, you know, he loved the fact that, you know, he had this group of teenage boys that were around that weren't getting laid. So he loved bragging about the fact of, you know, that he was out there making all these conquests and shit. So, you know, his morality just shifts based on what the situation is. In that situation, he was just being a normal dude. Yeah, man, I'm going out, get some pussy, fucking couple of chicks. This chick, I'm dating her, and sometimes I'll go visit her and bang her, and then while my dick is still wet from her, I'll go over to this other chick, and I'll, you know, I mean, that shit was not uncommon for my dad to talk to me and my friends about. And yet, when I leave my marriage, he doesn't ask me why. He doesn't ask me what led to this. All he's concerned about is the fact that I went to Texas to visit another woman so soon after my marriage ended. And that's just I'm just morally reprehensible for that. Do the math, you know. Very, very, I don't really like the word because I think it's thrown around too much like most buzzwords get, but a very toxic presence in my life for sure. Cared more about judging you than trying to understand you, it sounds like. Also sounds like he wasn't perceptive enough to realize you deserve better. Both of those things are absolutely true. Could be a narcissist. Well, narcissism and psychopathy often go hand in glove, so if my hypothesized diagnosis of him is true, then you're right. There's a strong possibility that he has a strong streak of narcissism as well. What was his occupation? He was various occupations. He was a mechanic for most of my life. He worked at a big glass factory that made wine bottles in Madera, California. And he was a mechanic that worked on all those crazy factory machines and kept them running and knew how to take them apart and put them back together. And so he started as that and quickly became one of the better mechanics out there, and then eventually he called it going over to the dark side. He was approached by management to take a position in management, which he was a union worker, so that was seen as kind of a, you know, it was a move that had a lot of political implications in their job, let's put it that way, but my dad made it immediately and really flourished in that position, even more so than he did working with his hands. He was a great mechanic, and still is, probably. Dude could build anything. Anything. I didn't get that from him. I didn't inherit that. I am not handy at all. But my father, like, you hand him a fucking pile of wood and a hammer and some nails, and he'll build you a house. And it'll be square and plumb, and it'll stay standing. So, the same way with machines, too. He could work on any fucking car, take it all the way apart down to every little screw and nut, and have it exploded completely out, and then put everything back together. He was one of those meticulous minds, you know. But he really flourished in a management position. And when he found that, that's when it was right around that age too, he started trying to do this, like, you know, boy, you're going to be a man soon. You know, I was like 9, 10, 11. You start talking to your son like he's a little man at that point, you know, and he would take me to work. And it was kind of, but I'd get to watch him do managerial shit, you know, which was mostly dealing with people. And he was very analytical and very, very non-emotional. People would come into his office, and I got to see some of this shit. And it was very formative for me. Not just the people coming into his office, but watching him prior to this as a union president. It was, you know, watching him deal with people, very analytical. He could have easily been a judge or a lawyer, had his, you know, life taken him that way, because he's very, very good at separating emotion from the logical path forward. And that is very useful, especially in a business environment. But he's that way in a personal way, too. He will not, he's not the type of guy that wants to sit and listen to you go like, I have these feelings. He'll listen, but then he'll go, what you need to do is go get a job. That's my dad. Like, that's as succinctly as I can give you guys a window into what my dad is like. That's him. He will very politely sit and listen to you as you go, I just don't know. I mean, I'm confused about this. I'm confused about that. And he'll just sit and listen. And then when you're done, he'll go, whatever it is in your life, the most direct and logical thing that you need to do to fix whatever it is that you're whining about, he will tell you what that is and then dismiss you. And that's exactly what he did. People would come in and go like, this motherfucker's in the goddamn shop talking about me all goddamn day. You know, I'm just sick of it, man. I come in here and I work hard, and I got these guys talking shit about me all day. And my dad would sit and listen. And then when the guy was done, he would say, here are your options. Option 1, you can go back to work and learn how to tune out shit talk. Or option 2, I can transfer you out of your department and put you on a different shift. And the guy would go, all right, man. I just wanted to let you know what was going on. Dad would say, thanks. And the guy would turn around and leave. You know, he told me when I was real young, you know, 10 or 11, watching him do this one day, after an incident like that happened, he wheeled around to me, and, you know, I was sitting there playing on his computer, pretending not to listen, but he knew I was listening. That's why he took me, because he was trying to impart his, you know, this was his push to, I'm going to show you how to be a man. So he wheeled his chair around from his desk, and he said, boy, he said, you see that there? You hear that go on? I said, yeah. He said, let me tell you something. If you're ever in charge of anyone, if they think that you are their friend, you are not doing your job. So that was my dad's business wisdom, and it's actually a very, very wise piece of advice that I have taken throughout my entire fucking life. I don't always put it into effect, but when I'm in a more structured environment, like a corporate environment, I damn well do. I damn well do. Working for Starbucks when I was, you know, as I was a manager at Starbucks, I wasn't a dick. You know, I wasn't as cold and detached as my dad was, but I did that same shit. I used to have, like, you know, a chick would walk in late, you know, for a morning shift, and she'd go right to work, and then when we'd slow down, I'd pull her aside and go like, I'm like 20 minutes late this morning. And she'd be like, oh, fucking, whatever it was. I got every excuse under the book, and I'm not saying they're not valid excuses. You know, I'd get like, oh, I've got period cramps, I'm really sorry, it's just awful, and blah, 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 or I didn't get any sleep, or whatever it was, and I'd sit there just like my dad did, and I'd listen, period cramps, got too much work, I got another job and I'm up late, school is really crazy right now, whatever it was, I'd listen and I'd say, okay, well, if you're late again like that, I'm going to have to write you up. So set your alarm a little earlier, do what you got to do, but I don't need you here 20 minutes after your shift. I need you here when your shift starts. Okay. Sounds to me like he was invested in your relationship more than he ever was invested in his own, was disappointed that you were following his example, more like he hated his behavior. I don't think it was that. I don't think there was a whole lot of introspection to what he was talking about. I think it was very, like, my dad is, like, you don't understand. My adult relationship with my father was typified by him publicly humiliating me for things I did when I was a teenager and a young adolescent. The only way my dad knew how to deal with me on an adult level was to, when I saw him at family gatherings or we'd go get lunch, really what it would always settle into is, hey, you remember that time you lied to me about fucking taking that car out and I caught you and you just kept on lying, and you know what I mean? And I'm just like, yeah, I guess it's fucking 20 years ago. Yeah, that was fucking crazy, man. Hey, you remember that time when you you was getting out of the shower and your sister walked in and saw your ass and was like laughing about it, and you got all sad about it and shit because she said your ass looked weird? You remember that? I'm like, no, I guess I don't. Did that happen? Oh, you don't remember that, dude? It's like, that was really my relationship with my father for the last, it's like 15, 20 years of my life. It's been like, oh, you remember that time when oh man, I can't, it's like he'll always find a segue for it too. Like we'll be talking about some other shit maybe, it's not all that. So we'll be talking about some other shit and he'll be like, you know what that is? That's like you. Remember when you was saying you was going to college and you weren't? Remember you lied and lied and lied. How many semesters was that? Like a semester and a half or something. You said you were going to college, but you weren't. And I'm gonna be like, yeah. It's not even a guilt trip though. It's like it's a humiliation trip. He likes laughing at me. He likes going, that was dumb. It's like, yeah, it was. I was fucking 15 or whatever, like you didn't do anything dumb when you were 15. But he mythologizes himself. He paints himself like, it took me a long time to realize that my dad probably wasn't much like he said he was as a child, because he has a perception of himself as, I was very straight-laced, quiet, diligent, did my work. All of those things might be true about him, but that is all he'll tell you about his childhood, was I was the victim of this, or this person was oppressive against me, and I was very peaceful, and I backed away, and I was diplomatic, and I was smart, and I did well in school, and I did all my homework, and I played the trumpet very passionately, and I threw everything I had into it, and I worked very hard, and that's all he'll tell you about it. It's all positive stuff. It's all backpat shit. You'll never hear my dad talk about his foibles as a child like I do. If my dad was sitting in this seat right now, you guys would never get story times with Paul, even though his name's Paul too. Story times with Paul would be, when I was a kid, my dad was an alcoholic and he used to beat me and my siblings. So, I had to make my own way, and I never did drink. I never did succumb to alcoholism, and I was a hard worker, and I was very good to my parents. I always, that's what you would hear. That would be story time with Paul. There would be no, oh, here's this embarrassing thing I did, or here's this time I really fucked up, or here's this time I lied and got caught. You don't hear those stories out of him, because he never did those things in his life. He was just a nice guy that always did the right and logical thing. And why aren't you doing like what I did? It's mythology. It's all just mythology. Talk to your sisters at all? I occasionally talk to one of my sisters, my youngest sister. She and I are the only siblings that I would say that still have a close relationship. And it's really not all that close, honestly. I'm hard to maintain a relationship with at a distance, and but she doesn't mind. She doesn't mind that I'm not the guy that's gonna pick up the phone every day and call her. She likes seeing me when I'm there, and she doesn't guilt trip me about it. Sarah, yeah. My father enjoys embarrassing me in front of people too, so if he tells a story about me, I'll just tell one about him. Usually shuts him up. See, I didn't have any stories about my dad. Because once again, my dad was very straight-laced, very businesslike, always did the right thing at work, was always up on time, brushed his teeth on time, never was late to work, never got sick, never called out sick, never did anything wrong. He carefully cultivated his outward image to be normal and logical and straightforward so that he could stand on a pedestal above everybody else and go, "Why aren't you doing as I do? The answer to your problems is to get up 20 minutes earlier. Brush your teeth twice a day." So I didn't have anything on my dad. You might have saw your dad do stupid shit. He might have shit his pants one time and ran upstairs. And, you know, my dad never did anything like that in front of me. He never embarrassed himself in front of me. Isn't Sarah the one cool sister that was actually not? Yeah, yeah. She's my, you know, she's the sister that I'm still close with. Is your dad obese? He was fat when I was a kid. He's not now. He's rail thin now. Lost all the weight in his older years. But when I was a teenager, when I was real young, he was super athletic. He was in the Army. So, you know, he really thrived in that environment too. Loved the structure of it and loved it. He used to talk all the time about how his body felt great when it was in that type of shape. But he maintained pretty good shape through most of my childhood. And then around the time I started getting fat, so did he. Around 6th grade, that's when my parents' divorce finally, you know, after the long tumbling collapse of their relationship, it finally happened. My dad started to get fat then, and through my teen years, he was pretty big. He got pretty big. There was a time where he was bigger than me. And then, you know, he's, like I said, he's back to his rail thin kind of military look now. Imagine he judged you harshly then. He judged me harshly my whole life. Well, maybe not my whole life. When I was little, like a toddler, he was a different person to me. At least my memories of him are very different. Now, he was still violent at the time. Like, I got hit with belts. I got hit with his hand. I got hit with a switch. And that's all stuff that now is recognized as child abuse. So he was violent towards me when I was younger, but there was never like that oppressive, like, in fact, it was the opposite. You're going to do everything. You can do anything. You know, I remember that being a lot of what my parents radiated towards me when I was little. You know, you're smart, you're funny, you run fast, you're good at soccer, you're good at this, you're good at that. You know, a lot of encouragement, a lot of positivity. And then when I became, you know, I started to become a man, my adolescence, that's when he started dealing with me in a very different way. My dad used to say I was a waste of skin. My dad used to go way farther and way harsher, but the same sentiment. My dad has told me multiple times, unironically, that he wished that he had pulled out of my mother and shot me in the toilet. That was a common theme when I was a teenager. Get out of here, you. What are you doing out here? Everyone's dad sucks. Yeah, I guess so. Feels bad, man. Got some people laughing and some people crying in the chat. That's how you know you just dropped a good piece of information on people. Like half the chat's rolling in the aisles laughing, and half the chat's going, "Man, that's fucking fucked up." How'd your dad get so many chicks as a fat guy? The same way I've gotten chicks. My dad is a smooth operator. Somebody laughed and cried. Wow. That's a mixed emotion. You're laughing through the tears. There you go. Does the like father, like son thing apply to you? I've had a lot of differences with my dad, mainly my ability to self-reflect and think, but I find myself acting like him a lot more and more. There's some things about myself that are just utterly reminiscent of my father. This voice that you guys are hearing right now is his voice. I sound like him. I have his speech pattern. To a certain extent, I have his face. So I can't escape the similarities between me and my father. When it comes to how I conduct myself with people, I'm very much the opposite of him in most situations. But I do, once again, I see elements of him in me. The way that I deal with people in business is different than the way I deal with people in personal things, and people intruding upon my dad was very vindictive towards people who fucked with his business, and I'm the same way. If somebody, by their stupidity or self-servingness or whatever it is, does something that takes $1 out of my pocket, I get very, very vindictive towards that person. So that's definitely something that I probably picked up from him. When you get defensive, does it come out then? Defensive? I mean, maybe. Maybe, like, not really, though. I'm much more like my mom, I think, when I get defensive. My mom is the tea kettle of the family. Like, as my dad was very measured and had this quiet, cold, logical side to him, my mom is the emotional, you know, like, I'm more like that. When I'm feeling defensive, I want to yell, I want to get angry, I want to cry, I want to, you know, I get hyper emotional. So that's definitely not my dad. If my dad gets humiliated, you know, or if it feels like he's being slighted in some way, he gets, like I said, he gets vindictive and vengeful and quiet. Hyper emotional, Paul. Yeah, I guess so. He can certainly dish it. Oh, well, yeah. He's got an icy logic to him. Do you think that spanking is abuse? I was spanked as a kid, and I don't feel like it was abuse, nor do I feel it was traumatizing. Kind of annoying to have people tell me I was abused. Yeah, we come from, like, if you were from the generation that I'm from, which I assume you are if you were spanked, because it's just really not common anymore. And once again, we got to draw the line at spanking. A swat on the butt, that's not spanking, in my mind. Like, you know, if a kid's acting up and you give them a little in the fucking grocery store or something, that's not getting a spanking. A spanking is pants down and getting your ass beat with something. I got the belt in the hand and the switch. Coat hanger, I think, once, and we, you know, I don't know, man. I'm with you. I don't like being told I was abused, because I don't think about those things every day. I don't think about getting beaten. Oh, the spanking spoon too. I forgot about the spoon. But you know, I don't know. It's a tough question. I don't know. I guess that's the best answer I can give you. I don't know if it's abusive or not. I don't know that I feel like I was traumatized by it, but maybe I was subconsciously. Maybe it was something that changed the trajectory of my life in a negative way, made me a more anxious person or a more depressed person. I don't know. I mean, the genesis of wanting to understand somebody like Jeffrey Dahmer for me is wanting to understand myself. Not that I feel like I'm Jeffrey Dahmer, but Jeffrey Dahmer is a person that suffers from mental illness and has a very, very strange private life, as all people who suffer from mental illness do. And it's an isolating feeling, and understanding, or at least trying to understand, the pathology of other people that had mental illness is a way of understanding yourself if you also suffer. You know, my dad always thought that he was being very restrained with his spanking, and it might be that leads me to be more defensive of it now. I remember he would always give me this talk before he whooped my ass with something about how when he was a kid, his dad would beat the shit out of him. And how he, you know, he would always make me, when I was going to get an ass whooping, he would always make me go to my room. He'd say, go to your room and get ready. And that, I knew what that meant, but it also meant that I was going to sit in my room for like 20 or 30 minutes going like, looking at the door, waiting for him to come through it. And he used to tell me the reason I do that is because I go and I cool down so that I don't do what my daddy did to me, to you. I go and I wait until I... Anyway, you know, little interruption, little phone interruption there. Sorry about that. They always project that they had it worse. My dad went through corporal punishment when he was in school. His teachers would tell him to pull his pants down and leave his ass paddled for disruptive conduct. He never said it was abuse. Yeah, I don't know. But he was always very careful to tell me that even though what I'm about to do to you hurts like shit, I'm about to beat your fucking ass with a belt, it could be worse. You damn lucky that I left you sitting in here sobbing for 20 minutes waiting for me to come in here and beat your ass, because if I hadn't, I'd probably fucking half kill you. It's like, all right, I guess I can't argue with the logic. Like, if you are a violent person and you're gonna go fucking spank your kid, you probably should cool down first. So I can't really argue with it, but it's like a strange thing to tell a kid, I guess. Oh yeah, well, my mom, see, like my mom's spankings were a whole different thing, because like I said, my mom's a different thing. She only spanked me like a couple of times when I was a kid, and that was true of her. It was always worse for her than it was for us. Like, she would get us over, she would be weeping by the time the spanking started. She'd make us bend over her lap, and she'd be like, you know, why you made me do this to you? You know, and the spank wouldn't even hurt, and you'd just kind of lay there like, she's like, I don't like this. Why do you make me hurt? Why do you make me spank your butt? You know, and eventually you figured out that, like, if I don't, like, make some overtures towards crying, she's just going to keep doing this. So eventually you just go, like, and then she'd be like, all right, go to your room, you know. That's how fetishes get started. Yeah, not really in me. I mean, I don't mind a little of that, but it's not like a strong driving force in my sexuality. That sounds hot. Mom punishments, yeah. They're always half-assed, dude. Always. Like, mom punishments are always like, you can tell that she started with something that was pretty harsh, and then, like, what she landed on is just like, because she feels bad for you, you know? So what she ends up landing on is just like, and you're always like, oh, Mom, come on. Really? I'm grounded for a whole day? She'd be like, yeah, a whole day. Oh. You're always like, I got off light on this one, the whole day, oh shit. I've heard, Joanne, that black mom spankings are a totally different endeavor. Now, I don't want to, you know, project any fucking stereotypes or anything, but I've heard through the grapevine that a black mom spanking is like a fucking tornado of hands. Like, so, who knows, man? What? What do you want? I'll go inside. I'll let you in. Here you go. I've heard Mexican moms break out La Chancla. Oh yeah, dude, La Chancla. Don't make me pull out La Chancla. TJ should spank Paul right now. No, thank you. No thanks. Pass. You gonna learn today, boy. We're gonna teach you something today, boy. Ever spank Dinor? Not hard. Sometimes when he's acting an ass, I'll give him a little tap on his ass to like orient his fucking mind because he'll get locked in on some things sometimes, and you'll be like, hey, and usually that's his cue to like, but he'll be like so into doing whatever he's not supposed to be doing that you'll have to walk up to him and like, hey man, he'll be like, oh, like, yeah, what are you doing right now? You're shredding the fucking toilet paper all over the goddamn bathroom again. He's like, get out of here, you fucking little asshole. I'm not gonna clean this up. Can't even make you clean up your mess. Did you ever use a shock collar on him? No, never, never. We tried a vibration collar with him. We bought a collar that when he barks, it like, like a phone on vibrate. And it's supposed to spook dogs without hurting them, you know what I mean? Like a fucking shock collar does. And it didn't work at all for him. Here's what would happen. And it was the funniest thing to watch when we were trying to do this collar, because he barks a lot. Like if somebody comes up to our door, he's gonna rawr when Ashley comes home tonight, rawr when I come home after the show, rawr. If I go down to the fucking office to get the mail and come back, rawr, he has a tendency. So here's what he would do when he had the vibration collar on. He would go, and then you would hear it go, and he'd go, it was just like, take it off him. It's not working. It's not, he doesn't get it. He's not smart enough to make the association. I heard that some parents today pour hot sauce on their children's. My sister did that. I remember her talking about how she probably still does with her kids. She's got like, fuck man, does she have 7 children now? 6? I'd have to do the fucking math, honestly. I've been away for 3 years. It's been about 2 since I've seen that sister, and she was pregnant the last time I was there. I think she's had that child and another one since. Don't even get me started on that, Coolman. You're absolutely right. I couldn't even imagine having one child. I don't know how she does it. I don't know how people that have that many kids do it, but I'll tell you what, like, outside of the weirdness and the, the Christian upbringing stuff that I don't necessarily personally agree with, she's a good mom. Her kids are fucking smart. They're all happy and seem pretty well adjusted, and they're well mannered and shit. So I don't know, she's doing something right. I mean, I can't look at her kids and then look at some of these fucking curtain climbers that I see out in public and go like, wow, she's doing a terrible job as a mother. It's like, not this one. No, she's good at it. I think that's why she does it so much. That's why she keeps making them, because she's, that maternal thing in her is very, very strong. Well, that's what I'm afraid of for my sister, honestly. And like, whatever. I can't really stand in judgment of her life any more than I'd want her to stand in judgment of the way I live mine, but I just imagine like eventually she's going to hit this point where it's just like, something inside is gonna snap, like, oh my God, I'm just surrounded by, but maybe that's just me projecting what I would be like in that situation onto her, My parents are lucky I'm their only kid. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude, like, I lived with, when I was married, I had I hesitate to call him a roommate, because I don't even know what you call somebody that lives with you for fucking 6 years. That blows my fucking mind, too. That's a whole element of my past that I'm still, like, coming to grips with, because it's just such a strange confluence of events. But we had a friend who got a divorce. We told him, hey, come stay with us for a bit, we'll charge you a little token amount of rent or whatever, and you can get your head straight and have a nice, because we had a house. We had a big house with a pool in the backyard and everything, and We didn't have children, so it was just two of us in this 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, big ass fucking house. So like, yeah, come rent one of our rooms and shit. He ended up staying for 6 fucking years. Ended up getting back with his ex-wife long enough to get her pregnant and then break up again. And then when that child was born, he had part-time custody, so my house became the fucking romper room. Like, he just filled the house with toys and shit, and it was just like, now what was like, hey, you've got a room in the house and you can, obviously use the kitchen, use the living room and shit, became like, now the house is basically his. Yeah, like, it's basically just a nursery for his child now, and I'm like living in that, working my fucking job, paying the balance of the fucking bills at that place, just going quietly out of my mind with rage. Just like, every time I'd like get home from work, because I'd get home from work all hot and sweaty and just like exhausted, 12 hours of just stomping around and carrying computers from this room to the next, just fucking busted out, man. I'd get home from work and I'd be like, dude, all I want to do is go home, fucking change out of these clothes, put on some just disgusting hole-ridden sweatpants and a greasy old t-shirt that I've had forever, and just sit in front of my TV and just like on my couch and just veg after work. And I'd get home from work and I'd open the front door and I'd immediately hear like Bob Goblin or fucking Cars movie starting up for the umpteenth time, or Wreck-It Ralph, or one of the and I'd go in there and there'd be him and his fucking kid, like kids running circles around my fucking couch, and the fucking living room is just covered in blocks and empty plates and shit, and I'd just go like, well, guess I'm gonna go to the back room where my computer is at and sit in there then by myself, because my TV is not available for use. Just, and it was a stupid thing. I brought it on myself. Like, don't judge the dude that did it. He was just a user. And a user is going to use no matter what position you put him into, and you can hate him for it. Hate me for it. I was the dumbass that sat there for 6 years quietly going out of my mind while somebody took advantage of me. So take that as the moral. Don't be like, oh, that guy sucks. No, I'm the one that sucked. Like I said, he's just a fucking garden variety user. You can pick those like fucking roses anywhere in the world. They're all over the place here. Why did you isolate yourself? Because it was easier than confronting the problems in my life. And it was comorbid with marital problems too. It was a good excuse to not see my wife when she got home from work, because she wasn't as put off by the kid as I was. So she'd get home from a long day at work and go, oh, hey, and go play with him and stuff. That means that she would take a different path through the house and wouldn't even see me. So it was a way to tacitly avoid my wife and the growing fervor of the social situation in my house that was just worse and worse by the day, with the kid and the romper and the noise and the, so it was a good excuse for me to isolate myself from other things that were bothering me too, like my marriage falling apart. So it worked well. Did you end up paying alimony? No. But I also end up giving up everything in the divorce. I took nothing. I signed over the house. I signed over the cars. I took my car because I owned it outright. But I took my car and a duffel bag of clothes, and there was a chunk worth of personal effects that were sent to me a couple of months after the marriage, or after the divorce. And that's all I took. That's all I took from that marriage. It sucks, but it's better than the alternative. I might still be locked in a fucking acrimonious legal battle with her right now if I hadn't have taken that hit. So, you can weigh it the way you want to. Judge it how you want to. I mean, I'm not telling you how to deal with your situation, but for me, it was just like, well, I can fight tooth and nail for half of shit that I don't really want anymore, or I can allow the person that still wants a life in this area to have the things that she needs to have it, and just walk away with my clothes and my car. And that's what I did. I don't know if she has my last name still or not. I don't hear about her. I don't have any contact with her, and I don't desire any, and she doesn't desire any. So, do you make more than her? We worked together for a long time, so the answer to that question is different depending on what period of time in our relationship you're talking about. The beginning of our relationship, I made more than her, and then after she graduated high school, or after graduated high school, Jesus Christ, Freudian slip. After she graduated college, ooh, is it hot in here? Anybody? Ooh, my. After she graduated college, obviously her earning potential went up. Do you want kids? No. No, I don't. Yeah. Yeah, after a kindergarten graduation ceremony, we really started trying to have kids in earnest. I mean, oops, I meant elementary school. End of show, end of show. I have a lot of dreams about being pregnant. I don't know why or what the fuck that means. I have a diagnosis for you, and this is going to be hard, so you might want to sit down. You're a chick. I hate to tell you this, but the diagnosis is absolutely fucking incontrovertible. You are a woman who has a womb and a biological drive to reproduce. I'm sorry, and there's no cure either. There's really no treatment. A friend of mine divorced soon as well, and the divorce law where he's living has the law that a wife has to share 50% pension savings with him. Should he take that or ignore it? I'm not your friend, so I'm not going to answer that question for him. I don't know his circumstances. I don't know the circumstances of his marriage. I talk about stuff that I've done, when it comes to shit like that. Divorce is never something that you'll ever see me judge another human being about ever again. It's one of those things that once you've gone through it, you understand it. And before you've gone through it, even if you've gone through it in your personal life with your parents being divorced, if you haven't personally gone through the death of a relationship like that, a marriage, then you got no clue. Name one of your favorite movie roles. I like the what's his name in the play? David Mamet wrote a play called Glengarry Glen Ross. There's actually a really good movie version of it as well. And the role in that play that I would like to, I can't remember what his name is in it. It's not a leading role, but it's a movie role that I think, oh man, it would be so great to play. Kevin Spacey plays it in the movie adaptation. It's a kind of a supporting role. It's a supporting role that it becomes very big at the end of the story, and I think that role would be great. Any role in that show would be fucking fantastic, though. Well, my phone is about to die, and I don't know if I'll get a chance to do another one of these, especially one that's so well attended. So before I let all of you go, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year's. I hope you guys get to spend some time with the people that you love, and I hope that it's a good one. I might not see you before the end of Christmas. You guys will be getting a really cool Christmas special from Deep Fat Fried. Those of you that are fans, keep your eyes peeled for that around Christmas time, and you'll probably hear from me afterwards. So, bye guys. Genuine, heartfelt holiday wishes to all of you. Yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.